Okay, so welcome to the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the matrix of reality. And this is why people have problems, but why people are able to make a transformation as well. This is really understanding how we are all 100% correct for ourselves and we are often incorrect for other people. Why everybody has their own unique, subjective version of reality. Now, first of all, we start by understanding that all problems are tricks of the mind. And what I mean by that is that we trick ourselves into believing that we have problems, like it's a thing, like it exists, like this is a pen, this is my problem. But problems don't actually exist. They're just a construct of language, like we talk about, like I have a problem. How can you have something? How can you have ownership of something if it doesn't actually exist? It is just a figment of our imagination. We trick ourselves into believing that we have these problems. We trick ourselves into believing that we can't move past them. We trick ourselves into believing that we're unresourceful. And it's often that in order to find the solution, we need to trick ourselves again into believing that we are resourceful. We need to self-hypnotize to believe that we can move forward. And so all problems are tricks of the mind, and which therefore all solutions are tricks of the mind as well. And that's what we do through hypnotherapy is we help our client understand that they can become more resourceful. And when someone becomes more resourceful, they can then solve their problem. Anyone can solve a problem when they're resourceful, just like that. Now, we start up by thinking about how we generalize, we distort, and we delete things. And so the way that we perceive the world around us is we generalize, we distort, and we delete. These are three filters, three basic filters. Now, the way that we generalize is we often generalize in language. Now, if we didn't generalize in language, it would be too inefficient. So we generalize and give it a label. We call this a pen. Now, if we didn't generalize, we'd say, can you pass me the blue cylindrical thing with a white top on it, with a white round thing at the top, and these four colors that are kind of embedded into it with a little hook on it as well that has the word BIC written on it. Can you hand me that thing? You know, so it's too cumbersome to describe it like that. So we generalize and we go, well, it's a pen. Now that's a pen, but then I wonder if I have other pens. I don't. I've just got 4 color pens. If I had a different pen, you hold it up and say, well, can you call this a pen? Well, you might go, well, someone could, you're right with it, so who's to say it's not a pen? Now, you might be a bit more specific and go, well, it's a texter. So, you know, well, what about this? Is this a texter then? Because that has ink in it as well. You know, well, then that's a highlighter. Well, then can't they all be texters then? Or can't they all be pens? Well, they're all writing implements. So again, we kind of use generalizations to label things. Now, other words where generalizations are being used is things like never. I could never do that. Well, that's a generalization about impossibility. I always get it wrong. Well, that's a generalization about the certainty that something always happens. Everyone hates me. Well, again, that is a generalization that everyone. Now, those sorts of generalizations, when you hear people make them, and there's a good chance you've heard many people make them, and it may have even come out your mouth before, is we can either empower ourselves or we can disempower ourselves with generalizations. Now, it's really interesting to think about this and start listing out for the language that your friends and family members, and even yourself, that you use, and your clients more specifically, about when they say things like I never, always, everyone, that disempowers them. What we want to try and do is use those generalizations to empower us. So we can say things like, there is always a way to solve any problem. Another one I believe in is that everyone has the resources within them that they need in order to achieve the results they're looking for. They just need to tap within. Never, the word never. Jess and I have this thing of we will never be apart. We will always be together. We kind of frame it up like that. We will always be together. But you know, things like never, you can, you know, I will never get stuck in an unresourceful state. I just know that to be true. Now, you know, what is the word stuck? What's the definition of stuck? Well, it's all, again, subjective. You know, there's moments where I get unresourceful, but I don't get stuck in it. I don't believe I get stuck in it. And so what I believe is a lie, but if it's a lie that works for me, I'll keep believing it. Now we move to beliefs, and beliefs are a generalization. Beliefs are a generalization based on past experience that is an ill set of data. When I say ill set, it's ill-formed, I should say, ill-formed set of data, which means it is missing. It's missing some data that could be put into it. So scientists want to collect all the data and then make an assessment over all the data. Well, what we do as human beings our psychology is we don't collect all the data. We generalize and go, well, I've had a few experiences, so I'll generalize and I'll decide that that means this. Things like all men are what? And often people say bastards. How do people get that belief? Well, it's because they've been around some men who were bastard-like, and it might have been 3, it might have been 5, it might have been 10, it might have even been 50. And because of those 50 bastard-like men, they then generalized and decided that all men are bastards. Now, what they are deleting, what they are missing, what they are unaware of consciously and often unconsciously is that they haven't met all the men they could possibly meet to know with 100% certainty that that is factually correct. Now, I know this as a personal connection to myself because at one point in my life, I had a belief that all women were crazy. Now, I can tell you why I had that belief. It's because I'd been with 3 women who unfortunately were suffering from depression, and I saw them on that roller coaster ride of they went up and down in their emotions, and I was on the receiving end at times from that, and I probably wasn't as compassionate as what I am now, and so I just thought, it's easy to be single, and so I just thought, women are crazy, and I used to have this unconscious belief. It wasn't something I sat down and thought, you know what, it will be a good idea to decide on this today. It doesn't happen like that. It happens unconsciously. You just don't know. It's like, at what point do you start to realize that you're overweight or unhealthy? I mean, it's over time. It's over time. It happens before you even know about it. And so, we have these beliefs, and beliefs are a generalization. So beliefs can either, again, empower us or disempower us. I believe that I'm resourceful. I believe that I have behavioral flexibility. I believe that I can overcome any worthy opponent that I face. Now, have I faced every single worthy opponent that I could ever possibly face to know with 100% certainty that is 100% correct? No, but I don't care because it works for me. And that's the power of beliefs. If a belief works for you, keep going with it. And then labels. So we already talked about labels for a pen. We have labels for I'm a man, labels for I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a CEO, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a healer, I'm a coach, I'm a practitioner. These are all labels. And so labels are generalizations. They're generalizations. I do more than just being a father. Like being a father, you need to do probably thousands of fatherly type activities. Being a husband is not just, I'm a husband. You don't just get given a badge and go, now I'm a husband. No, you have to do husbandy things. And so, these are generalizations. We generalize over behavior and we say, well, that is the sort of person that you are. Now, again, that can disempower people. Say, well, you're a depressed person. No, you're not. Again, we want to dissociate from labels that don't work for us and gravitate and hang on to labels that do work for us. Let go of the crap, hang on to the good. And so we want to dissociate, we want to get rid of those disempowering labels. When people say, I'm a depressed person, you're not a depressed person, you just have moments of depression. People say, I'm an anxious person, you're not an anxious person, you just have moments of anxiety. And then we look at the meaning. When we give meaning to things, we generalize. So we have all these minute experiences, these microseconds of experiences, and that could last for seconds and minutes and hours. And then we generalize and go, well, that entire experience means this. And so we generalize over it by giving things meaning. So as you can see down the bottom here, it says you can understand this even though it's not spelled correctly, because you're generalizing over the incorrectly ordered letters there, and you generalize and you can make sense of it still. Then we move to the next filter, which is distortion. And so the way that people distort is often we misquote people. Have you ever been misquoted? Does anyone claim that you said something and you were pretty sure you didn't say it like that? Well, that's an example of someone has distorted what they think they heard. Now, we can distort time, so time can fly by, time can slow down, time can stand still. But if we're watching a clock, we'd actually know that time didn't stand still, it didn't go slow, it didn't go fast, time is just time. And so, time can have distortion. We can have memories that are distorted. Over time, our memories distort because who is the source of truth for our memories? Well, it's our own subjective source of truth. And so if you believe something happened in a certain way in the past, then it did for you. You live in that reality. You live as though it did happen. I had this very hazy, faded memory of being a little toddler in a nappy sitting on the edge of a pool and dropping into the pool. I don't remember sitting on the edge of the pool. I have a memory of being in the water and someone stepping back and seeing the feet and someone stepping back on me, and they picked me up and they put me on the edge of the pool again to save me because people weren't aware that I'd fallen into the pool. Now, one, I don't know why my parents put me by the edge of the pool at a party when I'm only old enough to be in nappies. But two, the part that I'm getting at is that I don't know whether that actually is something I can remember, or it's because I've been told that story that I've created it. So I know it happened, but is my memory a actual representation of what did happen, or is it my conjured, is it my imagination of what it must have been like for it to happen? Now, it wasn't conscious. I haven't consciously fabricated it. I believe it is my memory, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? You will never know unless there's some technology that's going to allow that memory to go out onto a screen and have an independent assessor, such as my parents or someone that was there, to actually look at it and go, hey, well, that actually is what happened, or hang on, no, it wasn't like that at all. So memories get distorted over time. And then what we say can get distorted. I mean, how many of you have said something and you distorted what you said? Like, I've done it before when I've been on stage, I've been training people. I can say, everyone turn to page 13, but I'm looking at page 12. I don't know why I said 13. I thought I said 12. And then, 2 or 3 minutes later, I'm like, oh, hang on, guys, let's turn back to page 12. Did I say 13? I think I said 13. Let's go to page 12. And so there's times when you will distort what you say, and therefore we distort what we hear. So having arguments about who said what is futile. The only intent of having arguments about who said what is one person trying to bully the other person into believing that their version of reality is better than the other person's version of reality. I stopped having arguments when I realized all of this. I understood that everyone has their own unique version of reality, and it's about navigating and communicating and understanding the other person's version of reality and working with that. And so, as you can see below here, there's a little sentence there that says, a bird in the hand. And you may have distorted the fact that there are two the there. A bird in the hand. Let's move to delete. And so we delete things. We delete possibility from us. We can have a belief about impossibility, which deletes possibility. We can delete the opportunities in our lives. We can feel like there's nothing we can do about things. And so our beliefs can delete problems. They can delete solutions. So you can believe, you know what, I wake up every day and I get to choose my emotions. So I delete the sensations of not feeling that great. Often Jess will ask me how to sleep, and I would say 99% of the time I say great. I say great. Like, probably my sleep quality is probably looking like this, but it's still within the realm of great, because I have a belief that I've developed a really high quality sleep hygiene. And so my beliefs fortify me as opposed to pull me back. Many people haven't done, admittedly, I've been close to 10 years doing mindset work and living and breathing this stuff on a daily basis, not just doing a few courses here and there, but this is what I teach people. So, I have fortified my mindset as much as I can, and I still continue on a daily basis to do so. So don't feel like you have to compare yourself to me, but I want to share with you parts of my life and my belief system, because I think if you can model people of excellence, model people that are a few chapters ahead of you, you then go faster through those chapters. And so often people can also believe things that, prevent them from getting results. They believe, I don't know, I just can't control my emotions. Well, that's a belief. I have this problem. Well, that's a belief. When people believe they've got certain ailments and problems and challenges, that can hold them back because they are deleting the possibility of not having that thing. So we can delete opportunities. We can delete pain. Hypnosis is great for deleting pain. Hypnobirthing. You delete pain. You distort it. You distort the sensations into being pressure rather than pain. And therefore, what happens by distorting that, it then deletes the pain and removes the intensity. It distorts the intensity. It probably deletes the intensity. And so there's other layers to all of this. We can delete pain through hypnosis for long-term pain, back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, migraines, headaches. Hypnosis is fantastic for deleting the pain. The human body has the ability to delete pain. If someone goes through an accident and they're in shock, they won't feel the pain until that shock wears out. So the human body has an ability to delete pain, not just psychologically, or it probably is psychologically as well, where it just shuts off. Just shuts off, thinks, this is too much right now, too much trauma, shut down, delete it. So we can also delete memories. That's where people suppress or repress memories. We can delete them. We forget things. We go, oh no, you just delete it. It's not important to you. I do that a lot in terms of information. It's not important to me. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to retain it. So I delete it. And then words, we can delete words from our communication. And that's when someone can say, can you get me a drink? And someone brings you back a glass of stout, black stout Guinness. You're like, I don't want Guinness. No, I mean a drink, like, maybe orange juice or something. And you're like, well, you said a drink. Guinness is a drink. This is a drink. You asked for a drink. Here's a drink. And so what people often do is that we don't communicate the way that we directly want something. We delete information from our communication. An expert communicator understands that if you want to get your point across, you want to include as much information as possible, because there are inferential speakers out there. And as an expert communicator, I don't want to unconsciously be an inferential speaker without knowing about it. Inferential speakers will say certain things and wonder why they're not getting the result. It's because they're inferring too much, and therefore people need to fill in the gaps. And they're like, I don't know, you want a drink? Okay, I'll just get you a drink. And you might ask, what sort of drink do you want? I don't know, just drink, anything you got. And so you go and get anything, but it may not be the thing that they actually wanted, that you could have had in the cupboard or in the fridge. And so, it's about being able to firstly identify, where are your clients generalizing? Where are they distorting? Where are they deleting? Part of this is to not get pulled into the emotional content. We don't want to get caught up in people's story. We don't want to get caught up in people's problem space. We don't want to get caught up in too much empathy. Now, it's good to empathize, but we don't want to do it to a point where we lose control, where we get emotionally invested in their story, where we become unresourceful. I show empathy for my clients, but I'm also conscious of my role. My role is not to empathize here. My role is to help them solve their problem. And that is my number one mission. And so I'm not going to do anything that sabotages that. I will show empathy. I will show concern. I will show connection with them, but I won't cross a certain line. I won't cross a certain line where it's going to make me unresourceful. And it's easy to do. It's easy to do when you understand that people are generalizing, distorting, and they're deleting. Hope this is making sense so far. Let's go a little bit further. So the matrix of reality is really about that in any one moment. Like right now, there are 2.1 million bits of information around us right now. There's certain colors and sounds and sights and smells and tastes and all these different information that you can be picking up on. That's too much. You're overwhelmed. So what happens is we only take in about 126 bits. And that's kind of like the estimate is we take in about 126 bits of that 2.1 million bits. So if I can give you a metaphor for this, it's like being in a warehouse with 2.1 million boxes, the lights are turned off, but you have a flashlight. You have a flashlight and you can now only see 126 boxes in that warehouse. That's all you can see, just 126 boxes. That's all that exists according to you, because you cannot see the other 2.1 million boxes. And so from that 126 boxes, you start to define your reality from. And through that, we take it in through our 5 senses. You take it in through your visual senses, what you see, your auditory senses, what you hear, your kinesthetic senses, what you can feel, your olfactory, which is your smell, and your gustatory, which is your taste. It's what we call VACOG. And you'll hear me talk about VACOG quite a bit as we go throughout this program. But we take it in through those 5 basic senses. Now, there's a few more than 5, but they're the 5 basic senses. And so then what it does, that information then cascades down and it cascades into these filters. So we then start to generalize information, we distort it, we delete it, and then goes through some other filters. We sort of, it's a bit more advanced, but for now, just understand that we apply time, space, matter, and energy to it. We apply our own language to it. We have certain words that mean certain things to us. We apply our memories to it. We apply our decisions, which is our beliefs. Our belief systems get applied to all of that. We have meta programs. Meta programs are our personality tendencies. We have our values and our beliefs, again, that are applied to it. And we have our attitudes. So, who we think we are is kind of applied to it as well, like our identities. And all of those things, as it cascades down through these filters, it then creates 3 things simultaneously. It creates an IR. So an IR is referred to as an internal representation. And that is a representation that you create internally of whatever we're talking about. You have to do it in order to make sense of what we're talking about. So if I mention a white cat, you have to imagine a cat that is white in order to make sense of what we're talking about. There would be some internal representation of that. Otherwise, you'd be like, what? What's a white cat? Like you'd have no idea. You have to create an internal representation, a focus. You then also have a state, an emotion that's associated to it. Now, it's a white cat, so it might not mean much to you unless you had a white cat in your life that you liked, and that state might be a more positive state. If you don't like cats, you might have a slightly more negative state, like, oh, not cats again. And so a state is connected to a focus, but then you also have a physiology, and a physiology is connected to a state. And so, when you have a state is a feeling. If you are depressed, people tend to look down. When people are happy, they look up. When they're depressed, they look down. When people are happy, they look up. And so there's a physiology that aligns with a state. These are like the recipes: the recipe for depression, the recipe for anxiety, the recipe for happiness, the recipe for laughter. Are kind of connected. They're connected. You have to have a particular set of ingredients in order to have laughter. You have to have a set of ingredients to have depression. You have to have a set of ingredients to have happiness. These are connected. They don't mix. Like, you can't mix one ingredient of depression with happiness and still get happiness. It doesn't work like that. This is why it is so easy to create changes for people when you understand the code, the matrix of reality, why people do the things that they do, why people have the problems that they have, and how we can tweak and change things. And so people have a focus. Now, someone has depression. What sort of focus do you think they have? Positive or negative? It's got to be a negative focus. What sort of state are they in? Well, if it's depression, it's a depressed state. So what sort of physiology are they in? Often head down. The people with depression don't walk around with their head up. Like, they might be pretending in that moment, and it doesn't stop them from having an identity of, I have depression. But when they are skipping, they are not feeling depressed in that moment. When they're exercising, they are not feeling depressed in that moment. It is not the ingredients of depression. And so what we want to do as a practitioner is understand this firstly for ourselves. This helps us. You are your most important client for you to work with. It's looking at your own matrix of reality, understanding. It's like the movie The Matrix. If you've seen that movie, there's a famous famous scene where Neo, the main character, finally sees the code. There's a famous scene, he gets shot at, and he's able to stop the bullets. He stops the bullets, and he instantly sees all of the code. Now he has full control of his reality. Same thing is, once you understand this, you start to get full control over your reality. Now, it doesn't mean you're still not a little bit clumsy with it. You're still clumsy, but now you're learning. You're strengthening that muscle. You're starting to become a master of the matrix of reality. And so you start to tweak things and change things. You start to understand how you can shift your own focus, how you can shift your own state, how you can shift your own physiology. And all of those three things are all connected together. So you can change your focus, it'll change your state, change your physiology. You can change your physiology, it'll change your state, it'll change your focus. You can change your state, it'll change your physiology, and it'll change your focus. So they're all connected. It's like the chicken or the egg. Which comes first? Who cares? Just start with one of them. And then those three become a behavior. And it's the behavior that we observe. It's the behavior that we see. Where the people make a mistake is they try to change one behavior by just trying to look at the behavior. And what they don't realize, if you go back a step, if we change the focus, if we change the state, or we change the physiology, we get a completely different outcome. The same way if you had Jamie Oliver's best chocolate cake recipe. Well, if one of the ingredients was chocolate, and you took chocolate out, and you put pineapple in, would you still get Jamie Oliver's best chocolate cake? You wouldn't, right? You wouldn't, because you get a different cake. You get a pineapple cake. It might not be the best, it might not have been designed to go like that, but you'll get a different cake. But what if we put the chocolate back in, we take out the flour, and instead we put concrete dust? Are you going to get Jamie Oliver's best chocolate cake? No, you're going to get a block of concrete. And so even if you do something out of order, the great thing about changing human behavior, when you understand the matrix of reality, is that all we need to do is go back into the code, into the recipe, change one of these things. With hypnotherapy, we help people change their focus. We help people change their physiology. They're closing their eyes. They're relaxing. That changes their state. Through the hypnosis, we help people change their beliefs. We help them change some of their language. We help them recover information that maybe they were deleting. We help them recover information that maybe they were distorting. We help them create more empowering generalizations. And so this is why every single person is 100% correct for them. It's why, as a practitioner, what you want to do is you want to respect your client's model of the world. This is their model of the world. If the model of the world works for them, they should keep doing it. If your model of the world works for you, you should keep doing it. There are certain beliefs that I have which I know are lies, but they work for me, so I keep doing them. You know, there are, and when I say lies, they're good lies. Like I believe that water is a good thing for me to drink, so I drink a lot of it. And not too much, but 2 liters a day. That's a lot for some people. And so, you know, it's about understanding. I just understand that my beliefs are just lies. I understand that I can change them if I wanted to. Everything that we teach people, everything that we do as a practitioner is giving people back choice. The power of choice, being at cause. You can choose your reality. You can choose to change it. And this is why hypnosis works. In fact, this is why every therapy in the world works. This is why having a lucky rabbit's foot works. It works because it works on the psychology. If someone picks up a lucky rabbit's foot, now that's probably not very PC for animal rights, but let's say it's an artificial rabbit's foot. Let's say a 4-leaf clover. Let's go with that. It's a little bit better. A 4-leaf clover. Someone finds a 4-leaf clover. What are they now focused on? Good luck. They're focused on good luck. So what sort of state are they now in? A more optimistic state. How's that change the physiology? Well, if you look at me, if I get into a more optimistic state, I'm like this. Well, you raise eyebrows, looking up, looking for opportunities now. And so their physiology is different, their state's different, their IR's different. Guess what is also going to be different? Their behavior. And they now behave in a different way. And so that's why everything works. Everything really is just a construct. It is a construct that creates a placebo effect. The placebo effect is the psychological belief. It's beliefs. Everything is belief because it's not real. It doesn't exist. It is just our interpretation of our experiences. We have this internal matrix of reality that is completely subjective, and therefore, when we understand how we can change it, we can therefore change people's behavior, our own behavior, help people become more resourceful, and help them overcome the things that are holding them back. The tricks of the minds that are holding them back, this is how you trick the mind to solve the problem. Hope this is making sense. Again, this is why all therapies work. They all work through doing this. So guys, comment below, let me know what stood out to you from this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson. Take care.